Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1861. The topic is mindset, and the title is You Cannot React Your Way to Your Best Life. I was talking with a client, a nutrition client recently, and one of the things I was having them do was to track their recent breakfasts. On Monday, they had nothing. On Tuesday, they had a protein shake, which was a whey protein powder that they typically use around workout times that they had extra of. So they threw a scoop of that in some water. Wednesday, they had a protein bar with a bagel. Thursday, they had the protein bar, but this time with mixed nuts. And then on Friday, they ate a banana. They said they were too busy kind of running out of the house quickly. So that was their first week report. Is nothing, then a protein shake, then a protein bar with a bagel, protein bar with mixed nuts, and then a banana. They were literally different every single day. What was interesting about that was when we discussed their eating habits before we started talking about what steps we wanted to take. I asked how they ate at that time, like when we first started talking. And they said, I eat healthy. I make sure I eat something nutritious at every meal. We unpacked that a little bit because nutritious is an ambiguous word, meaning it means a different thing to everybody else. So when I hear nutritious, I'm like, okay, so you eat something nutritious at each meal. That means you had enough calories, you had enough protein, and it was generally considered a healthy food item. But that is not what that means to everyone else. That is not what that meant to that client. That client felt like a banana on Friday was a nutritious meal. For me, I'm like, where's the rest of the meal? That wasn't enough, and it's completely contradictory, macronutrient and calorie-wise and stuff, to like what they had on the Tuesday, which was the protein shake. But Tuesday was protein only, no carbs, and Friday was carbs only, no protein. But they felt both were healthy. So we unpacked that a little bit, and one of the things I mentioned to them was that inconsistency was the biggest reason why people are overweight. So if you think to yourself is, man, I'd like to be a little bit leaner. The main reason why people are overweight is because they're inconsistent with their nutrition, not because they overeat. They just undereat too much at times, overeat too much at times, and they kind of bounce back and forth. They never are consistent. We talk about that in podcast 1615. It's a nutrition podcast titled Why Are You Overweight? Inconsistent Eating versus Overeating. Again, most people have more body fat than they would like due to inconsistent eating, not overeating. You can find that podcast probably on whatever podcast player you're listening to, but you can also find it on our website. We have a podcast player that goes back 300 episodes and then instructions on how to find older episodes. But that's what I wanted them to focus on, was trying to be more consistent. What I then talked to them about is what I want to share with you today in today's podcast. I asked them, how many versions of a normal day do you normally experience? So this is what I wanted them to figure out, is how many versions of a normal day do they normally experience? I wanted them to ask themselves these questions. The second question was, in each version, what would be the best time for me to eat so I'm not left trying to get all my food at the end of the day, which is what they were struggling with. And the third question, and I'll go back through these questions and give more elaborate answers, but the third question was, at each of those meal times, what would be the best options available? So this was their homework in their journal. So all my clients have an online journal. They can write in 24/7. I answer at least once a week. Try to get to it, every 5 days or so if I can, a little bit more frequent. But get to them every week. And this is with every single client I work with. I go through and have all these discussions, which is why it can take me a little bit of time to get through everybody. But I love it. This is what I love doing, is getting to touch people's lives on what I feel is like a deeper, meaningful level. So these were the questions I wanted them to go through. And I gave them some sample answers that I would use. So if we look at the first question, how many versions of a normal day do I normally experience? So my answer was, I have a normal work day. I have an early appointment work day. So maybe I wake up and I have to go do something and then get into the rest of my work. Or I have a late appointment work day. So I get up, start into work, and then somewhere in the afternoon I have to go to an appointment. And then I have a slow weekend day and a busy weekend day. And those are pretty much the most common days that I'm going to experience. A normal work day, and then a normal work day with an early appointment, a normal work day with a late appointment, and then a slow weekend day where I'm kind of at home, or a busy weekend day where I'm out and about. Those are probably the most common 5 types of days that I'm going to experience. So then what I asked was, that second question was, in each version, what would be the best times for me to eat? So a normal work day, I'm going to eat something in the first hour of being awake. Probably eat something around 10 to 12 in the morning, like 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Somewhere in there, I'll probably eat something. Then somewhere between 3 and 4, then I usually eat dinner a little bit later. Meredith and I eat late, so we eat around 7 to 9 p.m. And then depending on when I work out, I'll probably have an intra or post-workout drink. Depending on if I had a good meal close to the workout, maybe I won't have any carbs in my intra drink. Or if I didn't have a good meal next to that, I might have some carbs in there, but I'll definitely have some protein. So those are pretty much the 5 times that I would eat, is the first hour being awake, somewhere between 10 a.m. to noon, somewhere between 3 and 4, and then 7 to 9 p.m., and then somewhere around my workout. If it's an early appointment work day, I'm still going to eat something in the first hour of being awake. I just might grab something as I walk out the door. I'll go to the appointment, and then sometime after the appointment, I'll eat. And that would replace that 10 to 12 meal. I would then still eat at my 3 to 4, 7 to 9, and intra and post-workout. If I have a late appointment work day, I still eat something within the first hour. I would then eat my normal meal between 10 a.m. to noon, and then somewhere in the window of like 2 to 5 p.m., I'll eat depending on when the appointment was. If the appointment's at 2, I'll eat after the appointment. If the appointment's not till 4, maybe I'll eat before the appointment. And then I still have my meal around 7 to 9 p.m., and then the intra and post-workout. Whether it's a slow weekend day or a busy weekend day, the meal times are actually the same. It's just, will I be eating at home or will I be eating on the go? So the first question was, how many versions of a normal day do I normally experience? I want you to think that through and maybe write this down like I have. Then the next question is, in each version, what would be the best times for me to eat? I typically like people to eat within the first couple hours of being awake. Usually the earlier the better. And then we want to eat around every 3 to 5 hours after that. Can you have larger gaps between your meal times? Absolutely. If that's the schedule that works best for you, given your goals and lifestyle and what you can currently manage, great. Well, as long as it's better than what you were doing before, that's all we care about. So it isn't like everyone has to eat 5 times a day. I just notice if I try to eat only 2 or 3 meals a day, they have to be so large of meals that digestively it doesn't feel very comfortable, or I just struggle to get in enough food. So I am eating to stay lean, but I also still want to grow. I'm around 280 pounds, and I'm still greedy. I still want to build some muscle. I still want to get bigger. So for me to eat enough throughout the day, I have to eat more often. So that way my meals stay at a higher protein percentage. I'm not over-consuming carbohydrates and fats to try to reach a calorie number if I'm no longer busy at that time of the day. So I do kind of front-load my day with calories and protein, and then kind of back off throughout the day with carbs and fats. So I keep my protein pretty consistent throughout the day, but my carbs and fats will go lower and lower throughout the day as I'm becoming less and less active. But those are the first 2 questions. How many versions of a normal day do I normally experience? Second question, in each version, what would be the best times for me to eat? And then the third question. At each of those meal times, what would be the best options available? So for me, my first hour, I like to get something in my face, but do not have it take any amount of time, because I usually wake up and I'm fired up and I'm excited that I want to do like a million things in the day. So I'm one of those people that once my feet touch the ground, if I can get my lazy butt out of bed, if once my feet touch the ground, I'm fired up and I'm excited and I don't want things to slow me down. I find food to be very annoying, so I just want something fast. So currently what I've been doing is a protein shake and a packet of nuts, cashews. So the protein shake right now that I have is a mix of whey and casein. So a little bit of fast protein, a little bit of slow protein, but I mix it with the nuts and that makes it slow anyhow. The nuts have a higher fat content, so that slows down the protein. But that's something I can get in my face pretty quick. Doesn't take me too long. I can get moving and start my day. If I'm at home during the day, I tend to eat tuna and rice or chicken and rice. I'm a very boring person. So those are pretty much the only two things I eat, is either tuna and rice or chicken and rice. Depends on if I have the chicken cooked or not. Then if I'm away from home, as I'm leaving the house, I'll grab cheese sticks out of our fridge and I'll make a protein drink. Make sure I always have that when I'm leaving the house. If that's enough, I just have that. However, if we have to eat while we're out, I'll eat a chicken sandwich at some place, somewhere. Or if we go past a grocery store, I'll grab, if they have like chicken wings or rotisserie chicken or some kind of pre-made something with chicken. So that's typically what I eat. I'm a very, very boring person when it comes to food. I grew up, when I was 15, I started being like anorexic and only eating one meal a day. Did that for 2.5 years. I hated food. I thought it was why I was fat. Went through all this crazy stages. And I've always been annoyed at how much I've had to eat. I was very naturally a person who just ate kind of once a day. And I would say that I felt fine, but I didn't. I just didn't know any better. But then as I wanted to grow, so that was me at like super skinny fat, 165. As I wanted to grow and get bigger muscles, I realized I had to eat more often. I had to eat more protein. I had to learn to eat, but it's never been something I've enjoyed. Now, I enjoy good food. I like ice cream. I like things that are made for me that I don't have to make. I like things that are cleaned up after me that I don't have to clean up. So Meredith and I have been fortunate enough to go on a cruise. She took me on a cruise the first time ever, just I think like a year or so ago. And it was amazing. You get all this food everywhere, and I was eating like 3 or 4 dinners every night because it was great. I didn't have to pay for it, didn't have to cook it, didn't have to clean it. So I was eating like crazy. So I do like good food, but I don't usually want to take the time out of my normal life to make it or prepare it or clean it up. But when I'm on vacation, if the only other thing I have to do is sit around and do nothing else, then hell yeah, I'm going to eat some good food. So I have been in the place where I've struggled to eat enough and hated food, but I have been in a place where I had to deny myself food. I remember in the early years of owning the gym, I was insanely overwhelmed, working 80 some hours a week and just dead freaking tired all the time. And at the end of the day, I started getting into this habit of just eating ice cream. I would drive home to the gym somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m., and I would have to drive past a Walmart that was open. So sometimes I would go in there and just grab a pint of ice cream and eat that when I got home, go to bed, and wake back up. Now, what was interesting was I was on my feet training people for 10 to 12 hours a day. I was definitely going to burn the ice cream off, but I wasn't getting enough protein. So even though it wasn't a concern of gaining body fat, it just wasn't the best food option, and I knew I was choosing it out of laziness, not out of it being the best option. So I actually cut myself off, and I had to say, no more ice cream. So I actually gave up ice cream for a year just by choice, but a very rough choice. So I have been where I didn't want to eat and had to learn to eat. I've been where I wanted to eat and had to learn not to eat. So I've been in all those places. But where I am right now mentally is food is annoying and it's time consuming. So I'm very boring with my food. So again, the first hour I just do protein shake and nuts. Then if I'm home, I'll eat tuna and rice or chicken and rice. If I'm away, I grab a cheese sticks and a protein drink before I leave the house. Eat that, but if I need more food, I'll do a chicken sandwich anywhere that's close by, or a grocery store, I'll grab something made by them that's chicken. Now, for a little more variety, because I'm boring, Meredith, what we'll have for her is her first meal of the day if we're home is a bagel with egg. So we'll cook an egg this like in the shape of the circle shape and size of a bagel. So it's like a little bagel sandwich. So she has a bagel sandwich with a Core Power drink, which is like a protein drink. Then if we're away, if we have to leave the house very quickly, we just do the cheese sticks and Core Power for her. And then her daily meals, if we're home, she has protein pasta, which is chickpea pasta made. It's a Banza pasta is what she likes. I just call it protein pasta because it's pasta with a high amount of protein. And then we mix in some feta cheese, chop up some yellow and red peppers, and then sometimes throw like carrot slices. And she'll have that with like a Italian style dressing. She'll eat that as some of her tum-tums for her lunch. Sometimes she'll have chicken rice. Sometimes she'll have tuna salad on salad. So I'll make her some tuna salad and then we'll pop that on salad. So that's some of her at-home daily meals. Then if we're away, she does the cheese sticks and Core Power, same as I do, as we leave the house. She'll have chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A. She has to have everything gluten-free. She has a ridiculously severe reaction to any kind of gluten. So you have to be very careful. But we'll have chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A if we need more food when we're out. Or she'll get like a cheese and meats kind of little thing at a gas station. Maybe there's like 2 cheese sticks with a couple pieces of salami or pepperoni or something. So she'll eat that from a gas station. But what we're looking at, I know I got into a little bit of weeds and details, but I assume that those were helpful to hear. But the big picture of what we're talking about is what are we doing when we ask ourselves these questions and we actually take the time to answer them? We're planning ahead. By asking and answering these questions, we're preparing our options. We are eliminating reaction. When we react, we don't always make the best decisions. We're rushed. We're flustered. We're maybe not aware of all the options. We make choices in misalignment between our priorities versus what feels urgent, what's important versus what feels urgent. If you do not plan out your meals, you will not make the best choices when it comes to food. If you do not plan out your workout times, you will not make the best choices when it comes to daily exercise. You'll probably choose not to do it. If you do not plan out your life, you will not make the best choices. Now, when you make plans, do your plans always work? No, absolutely not. But do your plans work more often when you have them versus when you don't? Yes. So if I make plans, I'm going to make better choices more often in moments when I'm forced to make a choice. Like when I have a choice. If I pre-plan my good choices, I'm going to make good choices more often. That's the idea of plans, is they're saving yourself from bad decisions that are either made out of being misinformed, being rushed, being lazy, being tired, being overly stressed. By pre-planning things, you can have everything already ready. You can already know what the best decision will be. If we go back to that client's breakfast report, what would we like to see? What I'd like to see would be a couple specific options that are repeated with consistency. We'd like to see meals that have sufficient calories and sufficient protein and are consistent given the type of day that they're having. All 5 of those days were normal work days for them, but they had 5 completely different breakfasts. So if it's a normal work day, there should be 2, 3, 4, maybe a few options that we know are really good. Proper calories, proper protein, and we like the food, so we can be consistent with the food. We have a couple options. That way, if we run out of something at home before we go grocery shopping, we have another option available. But we should see some consistency. If they have a day with an early appointment, then we should see consistency in how they manage those days. If they have a day with an afternoon appointment, we should see some consistency in how they manage those days, and so on. What we're wanting to see is that whatever the type of day is, We're having consistency. That's what we want. We want as much consistency as we can get. We don't need perfection to make improvement. We simply need improvement. We need more consistency and better choices made more often. Then we kind of over time see what's happening. We analyze and we refine. But that's what we're looking for, is we want consistency. If you find your daily meals to be reactionary, you're just eating when it feels like, I can get some food right now, and what do I have around me? If it's very reactionary, that's not going to lead to your best life. If your daily workout times are variable, sometimes you work out in the morning, sometimes you work out at lunch, sometimes you work out after work, sometimes you don't work out at all. That's very reactionary. If you find yourself wanting to take better actions, to make better decisions towards a goal, but you don't see consistency, then it's likely you're not planning ahead. It's likely you are reacting your way through life. But you cannot react your way to your best life. There will be too much inconsistency, and there'll be a lack of precision in what you do. You'll be doing what you can, but you won't be getting what you want. If you live life in a reactionary way, you'll be doing what you can, but you won't be getting what you want. You cannot react your way to your best life. You've got to make some plans. You got to figure out what the options are going to be, what the best choices in each option are, and then choose those choices more often. Okay? Well, the questions we had, like we said, for nutrition, is if you're wanting to improve your nutrition consistency. How many versions of a normal day do I normally experience? In each version, what would be the best times for me to eat? And then at each of those meal times, what would be the best options available? So you can go through, answer those questions. If you want to get more consistency in other areas, there's a lot of other questions you can ask, a lot of other things we can do. If you're interested, we are offering a free 15-minute consultation right now. You can just shoot me an email, brutalirongym@gmail.com, and we'll set that up. Or you can go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com. You can click on the one-on-one services page. There's a link there to request the free 15-minute consultation. So I'll help with anything you need. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. If you do like the podcast, make sure you share the podcast. Share it on social media, share it with a friend, share it however you can. I appreciate it, and then hopefully they will appreciate it as well. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.